Ladies and gentlemen of the other webs, welcome to the Beacon TVL show. I'm your host, Chris, the DeFi professor. Got a great show lined up for you today as we talk about the news of the week that can be great for you as investors here in on-chain and blockchain finance. Got a great lineup today. Let me go ahead and bring the guys in right now. Sorry, it's been a minute. Doing a three-person one. Immediately to my right, got a rotator. My guy from Taoshi, BitTensor subnet number 8, well, I can't say that anymore. Still technically PTN, the proprietary trading network. We have head of growth. We have Luke with us today. How are you, sir?
Good, man. Good to be back. How are you, Chris?
Yeah, it's been a minute. How's Q1 treating you guys over at Taoshi right now?
Man, busy as always. We've made some pretty significant changes on our side and kind of refocusing. So excited to talk a little bit about that later in the show. And yeah, man, just chugging along like always.
Sounds great. And our featured panelist this week from the great Layer 2, Katana. Happy TGE day to you guys. We have Billy. How are you doing today, sir?
I'm doing okay. Excited, tired, on the lookout, as TGE happens, you have so many things happening all over the place, communities and stakers and whatnot, questions coming left and right, but it's been good. It's been exciting. The energy is good with the team and just watching everything kind of all the things the dominoes fall in place as we launch today.
Love it. And you guys went live on all CEXs, roughly about 7 a.m. Eastern?
Roughly, I think so. I think that all went officially live. Some were going a little bit earlier than the others, but I think the Binance, OKX, Coinbase, and Kraken have all kind of gone live at the same time.
Yeah, it's amazing, man. What big energy. I mean, I know that because to clarify, we've been talking about Katana in our group for quite some time. And in fact, Luke's probably been on a couple of episodes where we've talked about Katana. So this is a really awesome moment for you guys. Excited to see where the CAT token and then all the tokenomics and also the new mechanics you guys are bringing in are going to be really pushing the ecosystem forward. And what I think has been a really fun opening, 8-10 months for you guys in terms of just what you guys were looking to achieve, with your model. So yeah, congrats to you guys. Shout out to all of the community who's coming from Katana to watch this podcast as well. Happy to have you and hope you find great value in today's show. So let's go ahead and start what we normally talk about here on the show at this time. We're going to talk about the markets moving forward, looking at coin market cap. Full disclosure, I'm a coin market cap approved creator, so I will be featuring them as we talk. Today, the markets have obviously bounced back. There's a little bit of a pullback today with regards to a variety of things, most likely more macroeconomic and global issues. But overall, we are seeing a bit of a downturn here at least in the last 12 hours. So Luke, I'll start with you, man. With regards to, what you guys do at Taoshi with regards to signals, is this all holding up with what you guys have been looking at? Because we've been talking on the show about, we could see an extended crab market here going sideways.
Yeah, I mean, I think it kind of aligns with my personal expectations in general. I actually thought we might break out of 74K. I thought maybe we'd at least gap up to 78 to 80, and not to say that we won't. But generally, I think the expectation for me is chop. So this pretty much aligns. I don't really see, I think, you tend to see the timeline get bullish when we have, like a 5 to 10% pump, which is what we saw happen. And then 75K resistance comes in, kind of crushes everyone's hopes. So probably more of the same, in my opinion. I don't, from a technical perspective, we might head back down to the middle of that range, like 67 to 66 with this move down. But I guess, we'll see how it plays out. I think obviously there's a lot of macro factors at play with the war. We have FOMC today. We had bad inflation data come out today. So there's a lot going on, and we'll see how it continues to shake out day by day, I guess.
Yeah, and actually today is a Fed day. So, Billy, your thoughts on the market overall, just from where you're looking from your perspective.
I'm kind of aligned with Luke in essence of like I kind of look at what the market is. I even go as crazy as to like I gather a bunch of Twitter data through the API and see like how many people are actually bull posting versus bear posting. And obviously, when it pumped, it switched, right? The narrative switched real quick, and everybody got excited for a little bit. And I'm like, is this a trap or not? But I was expecting more like to be realistic of levels of like I'm going to buy in at BTC at 60K. To be honest, I'm like
Yeah.
that's where I have a lot of my buy orders, and like that's where I feel like that's a good entry. Whether it goes up or down more from that position, I'm okay with it. But those are the numbers I was kind of expecting. So to see it go up was kind of surprising. But I wasn't really like thinking we're going to hit some all-time highs or like kind of recovery. I thought maybe it would probably come back down, and I'm kind of seeing it happen right now. People are taking their profits if they made their move, and then we're kind of seeing like with government day today and all that, just saying, hey, where do we move from here? Do we go sideways or do we go down? Is kind of where I'm thinking.
Yeah, and we're in a situation where we're looking at a fear and greed of over 30 right now. So clearly there are some people who thought that there was going to be more movement here. Ultimately, we'll look at crypto bubbles as well. Looking at where we are on the, I think that's the week. Let's look at the day. We are down. These line up with what a lot of things are looking like right now. Tau and Hype are big winners this week over the last week. Specifically, my guess is on a lot of AI model data, Luke, but we're seeing some more. River is still continuing to move, which is interesting. Then, well, Trump is up 17%, guys, because apparently the top 29 holders get an invite to Mar-a-Lago for a private luncheon. So let me just say, if you want to be in that guaranteed, because there's 297 spots overall, you have to hold roughly about $4.5 million worth of Trump token in order to be in that spot. FET up 36 is kind of interesting too. They've got some really good agentic stuff on the horizon, but our buddies at Zcash with ZEC with Zodal's new launch and that fresh round of 25 million on the raise. Good for them over there. So Luke, for those who are not huge BitTensor fans or know little about BitTensor, what do you think has been the big change in sentiment on Tau over the last 7 days? Is it the grayscale thing?
Yeah, I've seen some chatter about that. I think people are probably bullish on, obviously, Barry Silbert's involvement. I've seen kind of the posts like, next time this guy backs a coin, like remind me not to fade him, which I thought was funny. I haven't been super plugged in, to be honest, because I was out this weekend and then, we're just so busy. But I did see that there was some stuff with Subnet 3 Templar. Believe that they ran some sort of maybe training data or some sort of AI based run that turned out really impressive results. I think there was some speculation that maybe that was behind the pump. But when I look at the Tau chart, I guess it kind of makes sense to me where we fell from. I mean, I have a line drawn right at 300 and it bounced right off of there. So we'll see where it settles in here. We're at 262 right now, and then maybe some continued upside if it can.
I mean, considering you're at 175 like 10 days ago, that's a big move on Tau's perspective.
Pretty much, yeah. Straight up.
Billy, we'll talk about more Hyperliquid stuff in a minute. I don't know if you're a Hyperliquid fan, but Hype definitely continuing to roll off of all of the perps coming through, specifically through HIP3 markets with oil. Oil and precious metals are really driving that case right there. So are you a fan of Hyperliquid at all? What are your thoughts on these bubbles right now?
I'm a big user. I'm a big Hype user for sure.
As am I.
I run a lot of strategy. Yeah. I'm like, kind of getting into I'm a major DeFi guy. So like I run a lot of strategies that I have on there. So I'm not like a super degen, I'm more disciplined. So in order to like have some kind of like delta neutral strategy on there, and I'll get into that in a little bit with delta, but basically you need to have some kind of leverage per position on there. So Hype is one of my, basically perps of choice. So definitely
my guy, have I not been talking audience about, aggressive DCAing and delta neutrals on the table for the last multiple episodes? There is some very good validation right there. We'll go ahead and move on. Couple things that I wanted to talk about before we started diving into the big topics. This is actually, the fact that MasterCard's continuing to scoop up partners, not strange at all. They've got pretty much anyone who is big still around in crypto, as part of their partnership. Visa also working more institutional, trying to get more people into the stablecoin agency that they have rolling on. But we're seeing everybody here as a partner of MasterCard. Are you guys a partner of MasterCard, Billy?
No, nothing yet. If we are,
Okay.
I don't have any news on that.
All right. Just thought I'd ask because, they keep growing and everybody, there's a lot of different, chains, ecosystems, foundations that are a part of this program. I mean, this is all great because we'll be able to use these cards, but until Costco accepts MasterCard, I cannot back this. I'm just kidding. With what's going on because, they don't accept anything with Visa, which is unfortunate, but that's a choice, I suppose. That is a choice. Moving on to the big topics here before we get over to Katana and talking more about that. SEC and CFTC have put out joint statements, and this is kind of in the face on the idea, and we've been talking about this. Not only is 2026 the year of integration for migration of TradFi rails into DeFi, but we're also now in a situation where it looks like clarity is not going to be passing this year. President Trump is on the horn trying to rally not only countries to help defend the Strait of Hormuz, but banks to lay off so the clarity can pass. He's not getting either at this point. It's really just kind of falling on deaf ears because of the yield issue. And frankly, this is probably the part that, I talked about this a couple months ago. Coinbase gave banks time to actually look at what's happening. And that's kind of spooked all of them into just, walking away from the table. So will we get something? Maybe. Senator Cynthia Lummis from Wyoming is talking all up and down the timeline saying that, we deserve this as Americans. But the CFTC and the SEC have come together with joint statements, really, frankly, not necessarily for market structure, but they are providing what is a security and what's not, according to the general ideas of what the Howey tests are. Crypto Mom, Hester Pierce, has actually put out a link to the exact document. So if anybody's interested in that, let me know. Happy to pass that along. I'll put it in the comments for the show here today. That's out probably on the Twitter. But I want to say that the document is it's very long. Long enough that I didn't really take a ton of time to really look and read all of it. I really just kind of tried to get the idea of what the biggest summary points are. I don't know if you guys have read it, Luke or Billy.
No, not at all.
Okay.
I get the TLDR. I'll drop it into the cloud and it'll give me the summary. I'm like, all right,
exactly. Cool. Yeah. So, obviously when we're talking about the Howey test, we're talking about, what is the test to make sure that something is considered security, because Gensler's SEC was very much in the idea that at least on the DeFi side, the utility tokens, and that's why they went after Sushi. That's why they went after Uniswap and all of these other DeFi protocols, trying to make that a reality in terms of coming down and hitting on them. So the idea is if the, I guess, let me go back to page 24. A crypto asset security is going to be something that is how an issuer is marketing and promoting a contract, transaction, or scheme by inducing an investment of money in a common enterprise with representations or promises to undertake essential managerial efforts from which a purchaser would reasonably expect to derive profits. That's a very legalese statement here, because it's very, I don't want to say the word ambiguous, but it is fairly specific. Now, the idea here is that digital commodities like NFTs, not securities, which is good. Derivatives, not securities. The SEC is also acknowledging through this document a pathway to decentralization, which is really the big key here. If it is decentralized, in most cases, they will back off from the idea that it's a security. So let's see what else is a good thing to put. There's an abandonment clause. If a founder publicly abandons a project and the token continues to trade based solely on community or market dynamics, it may no longer be a security. Again, lending into this decentralized piece. There's also guidance on the receipt rule for staking with regards to liquid stake tokens. It's not going to be a security because it simply represents your stake without adding a layer of management. That is a very important ruling there as well. So for a lot of people who are very curious about derivatives, liquid stake tokens, rugs, NFTs, those are all, for the most part, not being pursued as securities. Airdrops are mostly safe. Now, because they are not, well, okay, so there's some nuance there. They could come after airdrops after a certain amount of time. But overall, in today's statement, airdrops are not considered securities, mainly because there's not a significant investment of money. You know, that Howie would, you're not pre-state. Well, I guess I should really watch what I say here because overall, they're safe. Now, are there some mechanics where certain like staking mechanisms could lead to that being a security? Yes, but I think based on what we're seeing, at least from this SEC and CFTC ruling, they are looking to step away and be fairly neutral with regards to decentralized markets moving forward, which is, I think, overall is very bullish. So, Billy, I'll start with you with all the things I just mentioned. Do you think this is a very defining or almost watershed moment for crypto to the point where we didn't get Clarity Act, but we are getting clarity?
Yes, when I first heard the announcement on there, my first thought went into now everybody doesn't have to make a governance token, right? Like that's like the number one thing, right? Because you talk to like any legal, it's like, all right, the way we can sort of get around this and not get, you know, a letter from the SEC is kind of have this as governance, and then everybody votes and everybody contributes in a sense. So now that you can create a nice, more utility-based type of token and not be constrained by that specific thing. So like I think with DAOs struggling the way they were and how a lot of DAOs are shutting down, it's a chance and opportunity to have new ideas to create some new utility for some tokens that have certain guidelines that they say, oh, a year down the line, they say, oh, we got, you know, side shafted by this rule or something. Now you have certain guidelines that you can work with that are definitive. So now we can get more creative with what we want to output.
Yeah, Luke, so Chair Selig, actually, yeah, Chair Atkins from the SEC said, you know, they're doing what by stepping back, but also giving these statements, they're trying to draw clear lines and clear terms, which is what he feels regulatory agencies should be doing. And I completely agree with that statement. He also is a big fan of DeFi, saying that, you know, DeFi is in the DNA of the life and liberty and pursuit of happiness of all Americans, which very big 180 from what Chair Gensler was talking about. So overall, your thoughts on how this could be healthy for markets, this could be healthy for regulation, specifically for, you know, things that you've looked at in the past.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like every time I'm on this show, it's like this topic keeps coming up, and it probably will continue to. And I think that's a good thing as we, you know, just continue to really legitimize the space. I think, you know, the way forward is probably institutional investment, right? I mean, I look at, you know, like the global assets by market cap, and, you know, I mean, what is gold compared to Bitcoin? It's like 15x the size, maybe.
Yeah.
You know, if we want to get there one day, we really need like central banks and really large institutions to have the ability to kind of piggyback on. And I think, you know, the more regulation we have and clarity, and I guess clarity, I say clarity ironically with the bill, but if we have structure, then we can introduce these types of players, right? So that's kind of where I stand. I don't really get too in the weeds on, I guess, the specifics of the bills, but that's like my general view of the whole situation.
Yeah, excellent thoughts there. I did want to go real quick to some of the big launches of the week, because these have kind of come up in the last 12 hours and have really just kind of sent me into some thoughts. So we'll start with the one thing that I thought was going to be a huge disruptor later this year. They're here, in my opinion, ahead of schedule, and that's probably because of the big league hires that they've made. Tempo, which is Stripe's Layer 1, now live mainnet today. They've had testnet going, but this is a big deal mainly because Stripe being Stripe and a disruptor. A lot of people said when they wanted to create their own L1, do we need another L1? They probably do for the base of smart contracts and payment rails that they're looking to put in. And it was this specifically that made me realize, yes, this is the reason why they wanted the L1. And the reason for this is the main reason why Stripe is Stripe to begin with, because they disrupted e-commerce by providing 7 lines of code that any person with a website could put into their code and now can accept credit card payments. This is the next big leap with agentic stuff, with the machine payments protocol. This isn't quite 7 lines, but this is literally one method, much like X402, also being built in the open. This is also being built in the open. X402 from Coinbase and that big conglomerate, but here from Stripe, the ability for this part's important because there's baked-in functionality. Not only can agents and users accept payments over MPP using that, agents can also charge with payment authorization, also with full commerce suites like subscriptions. That's not in this article, but they can do subscriptions, recurring payments, things that actual merchants want for something like this, so without having to code all of that. So that's actually very bullish. So Billy, we'll start with you on this one. Your thoughts on Tempo going live and bringing this machine payments protocol really just to thrust all of this in this very hot agentic meta that's going on right now.
It's actually pretty exciting. I'm curious to see how it plays out and how well agentic payments go on there. Like, I feel like when you look at the timeline, everything's going agentic, right? Like if you're not doing it, you're falling behind. But at the moment you step outside the door, nobody really knows what's going on there. So it's kind of like we're still in this very early phase of like very exciting of what things to come. I'm still a credit card user, right? Like I'm still like a user. Like it's much easier. Like as for consumer, I have that protection and whatnot. When I'm dealing in stables or cash, it's like that protection kind of goes out the window. So what's the benefit for me is something I'm really waiting to see. Like, will these fees get lower? Will things get cheaper for me? Or like, what is that incentive that's going to drive me to say, you know what, let me start moving everything over to stables and take that risk because that reward is going to be good for me. So that's the most exciting part. Like how are they going to spin it or what's going to come out of that would be like what I'm going to be watching out for the most.
Yeah, completely agree. And Luke, this is something that we talk about quite a bit. What's interesting is that I had a conversation with a good friend of mine, and she works for a company that uses quite a bit of technology, but she always said that, I don't know how you know all this, but I don't think you'll ever be able to explain to me how Bitcoin works. I'm like, honestly, it's not that difficult to explain. It's all about understanding it, but that's kind of the boring part about what's going on with crypto and digital assets. This stuff with stable coins, payment rails, the ability to pay for anything, in the palm of your hand from your own self-custody funds in less than 2 seconds. This is the part that's exciting. So, myself, working with a lot of agentic stuff recently, browser-based, being able to spin up headless browsers, and then agents can pay for the session automatically. All of these things paying their own way to use services on your behalf. It's all really exciting. So, I just want to get your thoughts specifically on this because I know we talk about this quite a bit. But now that we've seen it mature to this level where Stripe has this industry battle-tested, hardened system, it's actually really, really bullish.
Yeah, I think like Billy said, you open your timeline and there's a lot of talk about it, but it's kind of an echo chamber. Like we are very early, and I think you're going to start seeing a lot of companies try and get out in front of the agentic narrative that's likely coming. It's something we're thinking about with agentic trading and building and funding agents for trading. So this is actually something I'm going to take and send to my team because we want to be able to have agents involved with the trading economy. So I think that this is going to be absolutely massive. I think that's a shared view probably from a lot of builders in crypto that we're probably very early, but those who build infrastructure that agents can use and thrive on are going to be really, really successful, probably quicker than we think. Maybe even later this year, like 6 months. I mean, I feel like the things are just accelerating just exponentially. So I'm excited to see how these kind of things continue to pick up steam.
I agree, and this is a centralized approach, right? Because they're bringing in a lot of already developed things. Now, Stripe acquiring Bridge for what 1.2 billion back in late 2024 is kind of the seed moment that's led to what we're looking at right now. X402 from Coinbase and the whole conglomerate, they're also going to be successful, but there's some infrastructure pieces they're missing. Like, for example, in their system, there need to be a lot more facilitators. Coinbase is the largest facilitator there. They're going to have more facilitators that are going to be facilitating the blockchain, credit and debits, that type of management that Stripe already has built in. So this is not a decentralized process, but it is coming from a decentralized rail to a degree. So excited to see where this goes. I mean, we're looking at more of, moving from the T+1 settlement, T+2 settlement to now within minutes, microseconds in some cases, just instant settlement of payments, instant transaction finality with privacy coming soon, zero knowledge. These are all things that are going to be huge on the horizon. So for me, this was the biggest story. The second biggest story was actually a tie of a couple different things. So we'll run through them really quickly. Then I'll take some comments afterwards. Hyperliquid, as you know, Billy through HIP3 with system builder perps brought out markets.xyz, which is big on the U.S. oil and the ES Mini, S&P 500 markets that are out there right now, getting a lot of steam. Also, because it's on Hyperliquid, HyperEVM can have access to it. So we're seeing a lot of great abilities for great hedging strategies, things like that. But TradeXYZ, which is a smaller HIP3 market, gets the license for the S&P 500 officially to bring that as an official perp to Hyperliquid. This is huge news. After they were, we got some alpha probably about, let's call it 6 months ago, that they were testing QQQ and ES mini perps in testnet. Now we've got the official licensed one coming to TradeXYZ, which is a third-party HIP perp market there. The next one, if you guys have watched, The Big Short, this is some shit. To see Moody's now be the first credit rating agency to bring their risk ratings on chain, and then they bring it to Canton, which is going to be fun for institutions specifically because this fits in right in with their ethos. But if you've seen The Big Short, let's hope this is all transparent and non-manipulatable data. So we'll see exactly what happens there. And then the other tie that I have specifically is for Cardano, now no longer on an island, ladies and gentlemen. So all you ADA fans, rejoice. Layer 0 with Hydra and their infrastructure have reached out and have now connected Cardano to the rest of the ethos. I think it's hilarious that someone said that Cardano is allowing EVM to now be a part of the ecosystem. I think it's the other way around, man. I think it's the other way around. We're a long way from Andromeda mainnet. So now that we've got real things coming through, hundreds of billions of dollars in strategies now able to be moved back and forth through the king of interoperability, which is Layer 0. This is really just more fuel for the fire for Zero Chain coming later this year. So I'm really actually quite excited about this one specifically. But having these three together, these are huge moves, guys, on more crypto legitimacy, more interoperability, and hopefully taking more of the abstraction layers away from the end user. So Luke, I'll start with you on this one. Of the three stories, I mean, is there anything in particular that actually kind of that are standing out more that are, probably pretty important for launches of the week?
I as a trader, I'm naturally gravitated towards the launch of the S&P 500 perp. I think that's super cool. It's going to be. I didn't realize it was also 24/7, 365. That's nuts. Trading the S&P. This is going to be really cool.
Well, I hope if they're using S&P data as opposed to like the Chainlink Oracle, which is 24/5, then yes, this is nuts.
But it says on the tweet right there, perp is available 24/7, 365. That's where I pulled that from. Which,
fair enough.
I mean, it's crazy to me that all of this is coming on chain and 24/7. I know that I think it's NASDAQ or NYSE is supposed to go 24/5.
Yep, that's with the Chainlink Oracle. Yeah.
Yep. Just wild times. I think we're going to continue to see more things come on chain. And, as a user of Hyperliquid, this is obviously really exciting. Being able to trade all these assets in one place is just great.
Yeah.
That's why we're going to build on Hyperliquid too. We already are. So
Wait, what?
I'll cover that later
Oh
if you
my
want me to.
God, that's huge alpha. That is huge alpha here on the show. Oh, Luke, my gosh. I'm glad I asked you first. Billy, which of these three stories? I mean, this is, of course, huge news, but I mean,
Yeah.
does this overshadow the other two, in your opinion?
Yes, for me it does as well. Like pretty much like on point with Luke. I'm going to echo Luke of like what this is and being able to do this. And simply, I don't have to log into multiple accounts to like just trade, right? I can do
Yeah.
it all in one stop shop. So that's pretty nice to see. The big thing right now, like that, just these announcements back to back to back, kind of just emphasizes how important crypto is in this game, and it's not going anywhere, and it's moving forward, especially with a lot of the sentiment and a lot of like kind of developer focus kind of moving over to AI. I mean, big things are happening in the crypto space, right? So like, don't kind of turn away. If you are kind of pivoting, keep an eye out back into the infrastructure and payment space, because things are definitely happening, and they're
Oh yeah.
big moves. They're not like minor things. So yeah, definitely. But trade
And they're
XYZ,
coming.
definitely.
They're coming to this. This is the part that's the most exciting. It's coming to the phone, thanks to not only just products looking to build on Hyperliquid for mobile first, but also the fact that, and granted, they have to actually tap into it. But Phantom, Rabby, MetaMask having Hyperliquid perps, if they include HIP3 markets, which I think they are going to soon, that's going to blow a whole bunch of things open. And Hyperliquid, and again, this is not a Hyperliquid glaze session, but I mean, they've got HIP4, which is prediction outcomes, coming very soon, and then I think covered calls is coming in HIP6. So then that was just announced on testnet. So yeah, this is huge. This is huge. This is legitimizing more and more what's being built quickly. And yes, Hyperliquid is fairly centralized, but they're working on that to make it more decentralized. Once more third-party nodes come in and start building more of this stuff. Right now, it's still all running on Hyperliquid Core, but as we start to get more of the the nodes in the BFT consensus, decentralized and more third-party stuff, Hyperliquid, again, the fact that they've come in so quickly in 14 months and have just eaten everybody's lunch. Synthetics, DYDX, Gains, GMX, all of the other perp dexes, which are now just, I don't even know what they're doing, to be honest. I think I saw Synthetics is getting ready for a mainnet launch with their Cosmos-based chain, but I'm like, guys, the big Cosmos chain that's eaten everybody's lunch has just made the biggest moves probably in the history of fintech at this point, because this is going to be an inflection point moving forward. So that's huge. That's huge. Really excited about that. Go ahead and move on to a couple things with agents. We talked about PancakeSwap AI briefly at the end of last week. They now have Pancake Town. If you want your 8-bit RPG style for agents to go in and actually interact with the town, this gives me, Jewel. Oh my God, why can't I remember the kingdoms? DeFi Kingdoms? The RPG that was on Harmony and then had their own subnet on, Crystal Vale. Why can't I remember? No, I'm just trying to remember now. Why it's, I mean, they're DeFi Kingdoms. Yeah, I mean, they're on, they're still doing activations. They were at Denver even. So, yeah, this gives me those vibes. So being able to actually interact with protocol with agents using a video game is pretty cool. What was the other thing? CoinGecko now has a CLI. This is native. This is open source. This terminal, which I think that's a big marketing move, guys. for them to give this out to agents for free is honestly kind of nutty. And I don't even know how to. I'm still trying to process this after a couple days of. Yeah, why? I guess, Luke, why would they do this?
It all just keeps coming so fast. I think people don't want to get left behind.
Maybe.
If you can get user base and, roll that into other things in the future for, revenue generating efforts, maybe that's their play. But it feels like every time I open Twitter, it's just stuff getting thrown at me over and over and over about, AI businesses, startups, the agentic economy. It's just nuts. You couldn't keep up with it if you tried. So, data like that is going to be really important for agentic trading.
Yeah. No, completely
I,
agree.
I
Go
can
ahead,
chime
Billy.
in on that.
Yeah, go
So
ahead.
like when you're using something like OpenClaw or like those automated AI assistants, token usage is pretty heavy on there. So when you try to connect to something like an MCP server or something like that, you're using a lot of token data before you even start. So agents tend to use fewer tokens with CLI. So having those preset CLIs already set and that they're aware of, it makes a better token usage on there. So like just it's instead of more human interface, it's more agentic, like what they're most optimized to receive on there. And then if you're downloading the GoingGecko CLI, then they're going to use CoinGecko data, right? So
Right.
it's just getting that in there first, right, of being
Yeah.
able to do so.
Yeah, that's the only thing I think of is like they're really just trying to get, be a first mover, get the marketing in here so that they can actually say, this is all powered by CoinGecko, which is bold, super bold, to be honest. And because as you mentioned, stuff like this probably doesn't cost a ton of tokens to implement, specifically with OpenClaw. If you're Even if you're using something, like on BitTensor ecosystem like Glider 19, if, products from those teams. This is a really good terminal to tap into, mainly because they've got 10 years of historical data on here, which is actually pretty big. Coinbase already has this through their paid partnership with Perplexity, but yeah, this is a very bold move on CoinGecko's part. Pretty bullish overall, I think. So yeah, I'm excited to see what happens here. We'll go ahead and keep moving on so we can talk to Billy about Katana and their and we'll talk to Luke as well about what's going on with Taoshi building on Hyperliquid. So did want to, part of the title is are NFTs okay? This is a very interesting, I don't want to say an admission, but it's an interesting commentary, and there's been a lot of people talking about this in the last 24 hours, roughly about the idea that the TGE for OpenSea is probably postponed indefinitely at this point. And we'll talk to you about this in a minute, Billy, because it's a tough market to launch into. But yeah, this is actually kind of crazy with all of the loot boxes they were pushing with those NFTs. A lot of people trying to farm OpenSea through various, we'll just call them trades. And this is going to be an interesting, I guess, just an inflection point, because Magic Eden obviously toned down a lot of their operations. Blur is still around. Tensor is fine. Not as much cross-chain NFTs right now either. Everyone's trying to kind of suck into one or two ecosystems. So, yeah, I'll start with you, Billy. This is an interesting post for someone from inside OpenSea to make about the delays on TGE, and for the most part, probably just saying it's probably not happening this year.
Yeah, it's a tough one, and I think the biggest quote that I got from it is like you can only TGE once, right? And
Yes.
that they want to make it as special as possible. But in my opinion, and when we were looking at TGE and like watching the market happen real time, is as a speculator, as someone that wants to like maybe invest in the token or like just buy it as a popular, like having it at a high FTV is difficult to 2x or 3x. If you launch at $1 billion FTV, getting to 2 billion, 3 billion is very difficult to do, because in order to 3x, you got to go like super high. But if you launch it at a lower FTV, the chances for you to make your investment worthwhile is way better. So in essence, kind of launching at a time where no one's really expecting much is kind of the better option to do, even though it's not high. So like when you think of like what is the team's goal, are they looking to do a quick exit? Are they looking to do longevity? It's like, what are the incentives of when to launch? And again, that's all internal issues and nothing against OpenSea and whatever their strategy is. But if you're going to launch, and if I want to get a token, I want to get it at its lowest value and then ride it on the way up on the successes, right? And so, a lot of teams have done it different strategies, and we've seen it happen the opposite way, launching high and just ending low and just bleeding all the way down. So, I've kind of liked the idea of like launching at a lower FTV and then proving your value and just start increasing over time. Look at Hyperliquid, right? It's like one of those like that just kept going up and up and up.
Yeah, I have thoughts, but I'm not. That's just going to be me needing the ambulance to be called. Just looking at $2 $2 hype, and I'm like, you think? Granted, this was
I stood by
January
watching,
2025. I'm like, you think? And I'm like, Anyway, Luke, do you have any thoughts before we move on?
No, nothing to really add. Not my not my specialty. I think couldn't have summed it up better than Billy did. So
Awesome. Well, let's go ahead and move on to our feature panelist. That is Billy from Katana. Thanks again for being here, guys. Really appreciate you being here. So, Katana is, and something we've talked about quite a bit, but I'll leave it to Billy to really describe how Katana works and what it's all about, since he's with the team. But
Yes.
fun thing about meeting up with Billy again, thanks to Ritzy for rekindling that connection. I actually met Billy before recently, which was we were together in Salt Lake City, like you, Luke, and our buddy Ken. We were all in Salt Lake City from Permissionless in 2024 in October. So I met Billy at the same breakfast event that I did as Max from Variational, who's also been on the show. And uh, yeah, it's kind of an interesting thing to see where we're all at now as to where we were, back in October of 2024. So Billy, just wanted to kind of get your story about, how you ended up here working within, DevRel here at Katana. So floor is yours, buddy.
Oh yeah, yeah. I'm gonna rewind it back to 2021 DeFi
Oh,
summer, right? When I kind
wow.
of like fell in love with crypto, right?
Yeah,
And I was
yeah.
like, wow, this is amazing stuff, like wow. And then swaps were $50 to swap a token. So
Yeah.
kind of explored it and learned my DeFi on Polygon on the Aave portals and like learning how to do loops and learning how to do all that kind of stuff, and like wow, it is open market for anybody with $100 or $1 million. You can learn, and I learned more with DeFi than I ever did with TradFi. And so, being into the DeFi game, I ended up working and contributing to API 3 Oracle system that is basically heavy into borrow lending systems on there. So I got really deep into that, into the MEV world, liquidations and whatnot. And so basically my whole Web3 career has been focused around DeFi. And so when Katana came around, it was like, they said, we have a solution for this, this, and that. I was like, let me check it out. Let me see what it is. And I'm not one to like jump in right away. I'm always skeptical of everything from every beginning because in crypto, we've seen so many promises and things have fallen through. But analyzing it and looking at how the system works and the historic of like, okay, these are the issues with this. This is what I've had here. Anytime the incentives are gone, I can find another place somewhere else to park my money. It's nothing personal. It's just, that's where the better deal is. So Katana's like, well, what if the incentives never left? Right. So in essence, Katana itself is kind of like this flywheel we talk about, or this VE33. For those that don't know what VE33 is basically Curve has created this system where you stake a token and you can actually vote on there, where you can vote where the emissions go. And the 3.3 was something created by the Olympus DAO saying, hey, if we all stake together, there's a game theory that will all benefit better. And so what Katana has done is kind of mix those two theories together and put it chain wide, right? I think we've seen something similar to like Solidly and Aerodrome, Velodrome,
Hmm.
right? Where you kind of stake your tokens and you get to vote where the emissions are for a pool. Well, think of that happening basically for the entire chain, right? So basically, like if you are a builder or if you are put in a position where like, hey, I'm doing a borrow lending, or I have a position on a perps, or I'm providing liquidity, I can vote to have those incentivized even more. So by putting some skin in the game, I can put myself in a better position overall, and I can ultimately vote for my position theoretically indefinitely, right? Until the emissions
Hmm.
run out on them. So in essence, we are very opinionated on there because there's a lot of issues with fragmentations. Like when you go to a restaurant and like you see 15 versions of the same thing, well, which one's the best one, right? So Katana was very, very particular and very opinionated on that, and kind of like the way I see it is like a Mac ecosystem. There's one DEX. I mean, it's permissionless. Somebody else can deploy one, but there's one DEX to choose from. So that's probably going to be the best place where you're going to get the best liquidity, least slippage, right? One borrow lending, and then future eventually one perps DEX on there. And so now you have this full DeFi ecosystem suite that that you can build off of. And I come to that Mac analogy because it's like, all right, when I want to get a Mac, what do I get? Oh, the 2026 Mac Pro or the iPad, and that's it. Like I'm not guessing, oh, should I get this version or this? Like that's what it is. That is the state model. So Katana does that with that kind of system where it's opinionated, and now you know what to bet on as a builder. Am I building on top of Aave? Am I building on top of Compound? Am I building on top of this? Imagine being a builder and then you're on top of Aave, and then they decide to shut down. It just ruined your entire business, right? And now you have to pick another location and then readjust or maybe move your liquidity. With Katana, you're kind of betting on that, and you know exactly where it's going to build up from. And so, as a DevRel, I've dealt with a lot of people that want to come in and do stuff, and it's like we're looking for things that are unique, very DeFi specific chain on there. It's like it's all about maximizing your yield, and there's no idle liquidity on there. So from the very beginning, at the layer one part, when you bridge over, those assets are being put into use already, and they're in a strategic borrow lending on there, and they're earning yield to bring back on the chain. So theoretically, on almost any layer two, anybody that runs the same strategy, like we've seen across almost everywhere on every chain, USDC is getting between 2 to 4% without doing anything crazy, without looping or anything. If you drop it in there, with Katana, you're getting a few more points on top of that, just based on just general strategy, because we are able to basically incentivize certain things from the layer one, bring those assets up, and then kind of reward those on the layer two. Again, this is the flywheel in motion. Launching in the bear market, you're going to see how well it works, because it's designed for these kind of systems. And then also for revenue wise on those vault bridges, we also have something chain on liquidity, so we are actually contributing back to the ecosystem. So as people come and go, liquidity is always good. We've always seen historically how ghost chains happen, and then there's no liquidity, there's no way to exit, and you're kind of just stuck there. So Katana kind of solves that in a sense where as the flywheel grows, the chain on liquidity grows, the basically rates get better, and basically liquidity becomes much smoother on there. And that's kind of like the long drawn out version of it. But yeah.
No, I thought that was great. I mean, they should pay you to say all that. That was beautifully well said. It's cool that seeing a POL or a protocol and liquidity model applied chain wide that actually works well. I mean, you could kind of say the Bear chain was very similar, but I think the fact that you have the fact that it's incubated by both Polygon with the chain with the AG layer, along with GSR as the big market maker, this gives you the foundation where something like this can work well. I always thought it was very interesting that you had the boutique option of just having one AMM and one DEX. So overall, I guess from the inside, looking at this, because what people may not realize is before TGE, these were all well above 40% in CAT tokens.
Yes.
And we've been farming that for quite some time. We have multiple people in our group who have actually pre-staked to additionally earn on top of that. So overall, from the inside, how has I guess the reaction or just the sentiment been on how well you guys have done in this market? So congrats on the TG or token generation event today.
Thank you. Actually, we're really proud of what we've done. We're again, from the get-go, we're not like a VC funded chain. We were incubated by Polygon and GSR, but we don't have any VC backers on there. So the team is actually very small and scrappy on here. So the engineering team has kind of been working, and we've been rolling up my gloves and popping in some parts myself as DevRel. DevRel's kind of like I always say the Scottie Pippen of all the Michael Jordans on here. I'm always playing support for all the different for BD, marketing, and engineering and products. So we've all been playing a part. So no one's been sitting idle. So it's been a pretty cool thing. At the $1 billion valuation at the time in June, July, that made a lot of sense with the market. As people were looking at the the market, the token, the speculation of everything on it, that was the advice of hey, this is probably what you're going to be launching at on there. And that was kept at a while. As the market shifted and everything, it's oh, okay, well, let's see what the pre-markets say. And so the pre-markets kind of, predicted this is what we're going to be coming at, and this is what we're going to launch at. So on launch day, it became the reality of what was. So, it was one of those things that, we didn't know till we know. And now that we know, it's still a great rate, to be honest.
Yeah, no, it's a fantastic rate.
Yeah. So if you're not running a strategy or anything, and you're just looking to park your stables,
yep,
it's going to be hard to find anything better than what Katana's offering right now, actually.
Yeah.
And that's for those the point of the flywheel. Yeah.
And for those who are curious, Sushi is the main DEX, and it's Morpho, correct? That's the main AMM?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
okay.
For the borrow lending, yeah.
So quick question about because it's AG layer, so AUSD is the official stable coin of the AG layer. Will there be a push for native your Omnichain USDT0 or native USDC to come onto Katana anytime soon?
No, that's because the way the vault bridge works.
Okay.
In essence, yeah. If you're bridging in from Ethereum mainnet with USDC or USDT, that gets deposited into the Morpho strategy on there, borrow lending on there. And so when you get those shares back, those shares get bridged into it. So that's one of the, unique positive and negatives of it, because you don't have the native on there. But that's what makes the whole flywheel works, because it's pretty Ethereum aligned, because we're actually utilizing stuff on Ethereum itself and then bringing
Right.
them back and forth on there. So yeah, that's one of the reasons why it wouldn't. So those are be labeled would be VB USDC Vault Bridge and
Right.
VB USDT. So yeah.
Yeah, and when we set up a lot of these positions, because it uses Polygon Ag Layer, and I think it's fun.xyz on the underside, I was shocked at how quickly you could set up a position on Katana, literally within 15 seconds, where it can take anything from any EVM chain that you had to deposit and bridge over into the staking position. And this is when ETH up until recently was 19%. So it was an amazing strategy, easy to get in. You got plenty of cat rewards on the backside thanks to the partnership with Merkle. I guess the question I have next, based on that, is what's the next? What does expansion look like from here? Because you did mention a perp dex. You have Foresight, which is a prediction market. Tell me a little bit more about, and you also have the Samurai NFTs, that exchange. So tell me more about how the ecosystem is going to most likely mature, if you can, in the next 36 months.
Yeah, absolutely. Like once we have the perpdex live on the chain, then there's really no reason to kind of exit from the chain. You can run all your strategies within the chain. I've been working on the AI part of it, like for the agentic stuff in the sense. So, that's why I know about the tokens and everything. But being able to run strategies with a known factor of one DEX, one market, and then one perpdex lets agents really execute stuff very frequently and to be able to search markets. Like right now we have negative borrow rates. So that like being able to, if you're holding a bunch of ETH and say, hey, I want to deposit on a perpdex and I don't have stables, well, you can borrow them off and then leverage your position on there. And your agent will kind of know that, right? So like those kind of options that people don't realize is a great place for people to learn DeFi on Katana. As the, time grows, right now, all you can vote for is stuff on Sushi LPs. So right now I can only, vote for ETH USDC or Wrap ETC USDC or USDT, whatever market you're in there. As it grows, you'll be able to then vote for, borrow lending markets. You'll be able to vote for perpetual positions on there. And then as a builder, you'll be able to vote for your own dApp. And that's one of the biggest things on here as well, because anybody that's built a DeFi product knows the hardest part is getting liquidity and getting that first million, right? And then once you do it, like sometimes you're forced to, put out a token for incentives because, whatever reasons you can't get enough money. And now once the tokens hit a certain value, you're kind of on your own. Now with Cat, you are working on a chain-wide type of support on here, right? You're no longer just by yourself as a dApp trying to like just survive. You're leveraging the Cat position, the Cat liquidity in order to actually build your dApp up. And so once we get to that point in the larger scale of where you can then vote for your own dApp, I think that's where we're going to see a lot of like kind of like the Cat wars in a sense of like what we saw in the curve wars.
Like the curve wars, yeah.
Yeah. So that's going to be an interesting thing to see happen once people want to start moving that liquidity back and forth on there. And then ultimately, as the chain on liquidity grows, there's going to be a lot more different campaigns on there. And then the emissions rate is going to go on for at least 2 years. So there's quite a ways to go on building out. And then the sequencer fees will be going back into chain on liquidity as well. So it's a lot of it. If you are a user of Katana, it really rewards you to basically play part of it on there, because every idle asset is being used on there. So if you bridge to Katana and you are just sitting there not actually using it, your rewards that are being bridged from the L1 are going to somebody else. So it really incentivizes people to actually start using the product, start depositing it in the vaults or running your own strategies, and then maybe using the AI reference to learn about different strategies. And kind of like what I mentioned about Delta Neutral. When I say that to a lot of people, I see like deers in the lights, right? It's like, oh, what is Delta Neutral? You ask your AI agent, oh yeah, you can buy a spot here and you can create a short here, and then you're basically running a neutral position. It's like, would you like me to help, give you options on that stuff? So, depending on that, like what people are really going to want to learn, now that the agent only has to look at 4 different places max, it knows how to give the most optimized strategy on the markets on there.
So you're telling me there's an AI agent that's going to be available for users very soon?
There will be an MCP server on there
that
will have all the data. Yeah.
There we go. There we go.
Yeah, that
I was like,
there'll be a skill set. Now, AI agents will be open for anybody that wants to use that MCP server, use that data on there, and then they can do like, if they want to make the advisor stuff, right? I can't do financial advice. Right. What I can do is give the experience I have as a DeFi guy that runs his own strategies is like, hey, these are available. And then based on those questions that you get that are available to you, give them those options. And then if someone wants to run an agent to do so, then they can run those strategies.
Awesome. So guys, if you want to get involved, katana.network, really, really great experience so far. We've been very pleased to recommend it to our community. Our community has done pretty well, at least on the cat piece, and getting a whole lot of action, and the ability to have, I think the Apple example is always an interesting one, where you can actually have chain owned liquidity, and you have a thriving ecosystem of good market participants, people with experience that understand how this works. That's going to be, I think, huge overall for more of these types of experiences, because Katana is, frankly, a little bit of a boutique experience, if I'm being very honest. So seeing more experiments like these, I think, will be very welcome, as opposed to a lot more of extractive things that we've been seeing for the last 2 to 3 years in this space. So congrats to you guys. Again, thanks for being here, Billy. And just, if you want to plug a specific part of the network that you want people to go to, please let me know what that is.
Definitely. I mean, it would be app.katana.network on there. That's the page you're looking at right there. That's basically the one-stop shop for everything. And for those that are interested in perps, give me a DM, because we are in conversation with a perps dex that will be coming out into Katana. And so we can get you an invite link for that. And that way you can check it out. And it's something worth actually moving from Hyperliquid for. So it's one of those things where, we're all in the game, right? There's nobody that doesn't do DeFi on the team. So their expectation standards are high on there.
Love
so,
it.
we weren't taking, we weren't going to do a core app that wouldn't be good. So definitely, if there is interested, people listening in, or they DM you after, feel free to reach out to me, and we'll get you settled on there.
Oh, I'm definitely asking. Don't worry. Luke, do you have any questions for Billy?
No, I think this is awesome. Really good overview, and excited to take a look myself and familiarize more. Always excited to check out new protocols, new tokens. So I think this is great.
Yeah, it's been a really good experience, because it combines a lot of different concepts that I think are very meta right now, right? Because it's got protocol on liquidity, or chain on liquidity. You've got the VE33 model, which we call the prisoners puzzle, I think is what it used to be called. And one thing too that people don't talk a lot about, Katana is a ZK chain. It's a zero knowledge proof chain. So that's also cool. It's fast, it's efficient, it's fairly cheap, all things considered, and has been a really smooth experience. That's been the one thing I can definitely say about being on Katana. It's been a very smooth experience. Really pleased with where it's going, and excited to see where you guys are going to go. So Billy, thanks so much for being here, man. It's like talking to myself in the mirror, hearing all your experiences, because these are all the same things that I did when I first started out. Like, I was using, to get to Polygon faster, I was using BitBNS in India as a USDT bridge that I used from Coinbase to get there, faster, because of how long it took, with the plasma bridge being 3 days. So, going through Binance and using Binance Wallet to get, it was crazy. Those are crazy days. So, Luke, definitely. My guy.
Thank you for having me, guys.
Of course, man. Definitely. Of course. Yeah. Anytime, brother. Anytime. You're welcome back. It's been a really good show. Luke, man, let's talk about Taoshi here, because you leaked a little bit of something that I was not expecting to hear. So tell me a little bit more about, is this a Vanta deal that's doing hyper?
Yeah, I would close that website. That website's outdated at this point.
Oh no, is there a better website to use?
Yeah, we're really just focused. I would go over to Twitter, search Hyperscaled HQ. That's what we're building right now.
All right, let me.
So, what's that?
Hold on. Did you say hyperskill?
Hyperscaled.
Oh, hyperscaled. Okay.
That is our app we're building on top of Hyperliquid right now. What we're really doing in the meantime is we're focused on funding and capital for traders. So essentially taking the prop firm model of old times that is centralized and making it decentralized. So one of the ways that we're doing this is on Hyperliquid through Hyperscaled. This new platform we're building, trying to get it out in the next couple of weeks. We're going to have a whole new website. We just stood something up real quick so we can have a wait list ready to go. So I'm excited to share that website. But essentially what this is, permissionless funded trading on Hyperliquid. So what that means is anyone can sign up for Hyperscaled, they can get an account of 25, 50, or 100K, pass a trading challenge on Hyperliquid. You just trade on your native Hyperliquid UI. And if you pass that evaluation, you get access to a funded account, which means that you are able to keep 100% of your profits through the funded account. So essentially, the way that works from an infrastructure side is you're trading on Hyperliquid, and because all of Hyperliquid's data is open, we don't need an API or anything. We just mirror those trades into the decentralized infrastructure on the back end into your 100K, 50K, or 25K account, and then you keep 100% of the profits you generate in that account. So one thing that we're also really focused on with this is agentic trading. We know it's coming, and we want to enable agents to trade on Hyperscaled with that and get funding. So we're building that as well, and we'll have more details on that hopefully soon. And I mean, the plan here is to really roll this out by the end of March. So we're pretty excited about it. And, as a Hyperliquid user, the opportunity to get funding like that, and you're just paying a one-time sign-up fee, is pretty cool. So I'm really excited about it. I think that we all kind of believe that Hyperliquid is really like the future of decentralized trading, but a lot of traders lack capital, and they need access to capital. So that's what we're working to do, and we're building it on Hyperliquid.
That is awesome. Yeah, that is when you started mentioning prop firm, I was like, oh no, they've done it. They've done it. This is amazing.
Yeah, and I mean, with agents too, you don't necessarily need to be a trader. You can, if you have coding skills and you're able to, I guess, work on building an agentic trader, then you can really have an agent that handles all of that for you. And assuming that they're profitable and able to manage risk successfully, then it's all on autopilot. But it'll be a dual model, where a trader like me could sign up, someone who's building a trading agent could, and that's kind of where things like that CoinGecko data come in. You can pull all of that data in to help build an agentic trader that can trade on Hyperliquid completely autonomously and get funding through Hyperscaled. So that's where things stand on our end right now. Apologies for the kind of shitty website.
No, it's fine.
Yeah,
the idea is great, but
we have a complete update coming soon.
I'm sure you do. So my question on this is this going to use signals from Subnet 8?
Yeah, so that's kind of where the whole pipeline goes to, is our consumer facing product, which is Glitch. So we've refocused a little bit for the first couple quarters of the year. And with Vanta Network and Hyperscaled and all these different applications, the end goal is obviously taking those signals that are incoming from traders and being able to use them to build sophisticated strategies. So this is all kind of part of an effort to really make our pipeline for strategy building a lot more robust. And that's where things stand. So once we have really a plethora of signals coming in from these funded traders, then we'll be able to really build what we believe will be highly performant strategies and make those accessible for copy trading through Glitch. So it's a whole pipeline that we're working on. It's going to take some time to come together, but I think we're making the right steps. And I think building on Hyperliquid is obviously a really good choice, as people are going to continue to do it. So I'm excited about that. I think Hyperliquid is the future. And like you said earlier, I wish I'd bought some earlier. What was it?
Oh. I need to go out and just virtually hug Keiko and myself, because we sat there trying to bridge money over to Arbitrum because it wasn't quite up yet, and with hype was at $2. Anyway, I'm gonna cry if I keep talking about that, so I'm gonna refrain from doing that. But yeah, we still got some, just not at $2. Regardless, this is awesome, Luke. I'm so excited for you guys. This is pure alpha for anybody watching. Like, guys, get on this waitlist, hyperscaled.trade, if you want to get a shot at being able to, to get a funded account on here. It's an amazing idea. I personally haven't seen anything like that. I don't think anybody in my network has talked about something like this, to be honest. So, really excited about this. And we'll come back to this in a second. But again, thanks to Luke from, should I say Hyperscaled? Or should I just say Vanta? Whichever. Taoshi, there we go.
Yeah.
From Taoshi.
Taoshi is the whole umbrella.
I get it. Okay, got it.
subsidiaries and products and yada yada.
Yeah, Luke from Taoshi. We have Billy from Katana. Thank you guys again for being here. If you're enjoying what you're seeing, please like, follow, subscribe myself or onto the Beacon DeFi account. You can join our free group called Total Value Locked here at school.com/beacon. Go. Come on up. There we go. School.com/beacon. This is our free group from Beacon DeFi. Shout out to all of our Beacon Mastermind founding members and our Beacon Mastermind current members, along with our challengers and our Spotlight subscribers. Thanks you guys for helping make what we do what we do. If you're curious, feel free to click on the Start Here post. You'll get a message from myself and our CEO, Andrew. You'll learn a bit more about our free content on becoming a competent DeFi investor, as well as our paid offers like our Beacon Challenge. We can earn your first dollar in DeFi within 48 hours, or of course our Spotlight subscription, along with one-on-one mentoring if you want to come into our Beacon Mastermind. So thanks again, everybody, for the support. And again, send it to someone you know. If you know someone who's looking to get into DeFi, wants to get in there safely and securely, send them our way. We'll take care of you for sure. All right. Guys, what a show. That's some amazing stuff. Katana, hyperscaled. Really excited to see what you guys are going to be building moving forward. Big fans of both projects, obviously. So I'll leave a closing thing. Anything in particular that you're really bullish on moving forward? And obviously, Katana is probably the thing you'll probably talk about first, Blade, but feel free to let the people know.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, obviously, Katana is one to watch. For those that haven't been investing in the liquidity campaign on there, the early stakers bonus is still alive. You have 72 hours to stake on there.
It's still going on. Okay, good.
Well, there's two. Sorry, I don't want to kill the closing statement, but if you were a pre-staker, you want heavy bonuses on there. Now, for the next 72 hours, you are a founding one. So there are bonuses for that as well. So if you miss the pre-staking, great. Well, it's not too bad. If you get the first 3 days, you still get a little bit of bonus on there. The details are on the staking site on the webpage on there. And for, what I'm looking forward to is like seeing where, these payment systems take off, right? I'm in a mixture of the Ethereum Foundation's kind of, mandate of what they want to do for the direction for more of a decentralized kind of a system. And then where institutions are going to take it, right? We're kind of in a fork of the road of like where we're going to go on there. And there's going to be two roads on there. And I'm kind of curious to see like where people are going to lean to and like what's going to be the outcome of that.
Yeah, agreed. It's a very interesting road because, and this is something I think Luke, the last time you were on, we were talking about, especially with Robinhood, will there be two versions of DeFi for people? Will there be an institutional? Will there be more of a CDeFi type of option? And, as builders in this space, we're trying to make sure that we can, provide the right products and the right dApps that people are going to use. So something to watch, that's for sure. Thanks again, Billy, for being here. Luke, any closing thoughts on what you're bullish about?
Bullish on Tau, bullish on Hype, and Beacon DeFi.
That's my man right there. Guys, we're here every Wednesday, 1 p.m. Eastern. We've been doing this show since December of 2021. Our goal is to educate you on the news of the week, introduce you to new protocols, and just give our ideas on what we think are worthy of your time here in this very packed space of Web3, on-chain finance, and DeFi. If you're looking to more what we'll be doing, every Friday we have our free community training, Beat the Banks. It's been going on since January 2022. That's Friday, 3 p.m. Eastern, here on these same channels. We'll see you then for those. Please follow our panelists, Luke and Billy. I'll make sure that we have their Twitter handles in the comments for the show. And yeah, thanks guys for being here. It's been a good show. And stick around for a second while we keep going. We'll see you next week here on the show. As we say here on the show, beacons up, banks down. Take care, everybody. Have a great day.